so today we're going to be finishing up this router table. The last few things I got to do is make a couple more notches. So my plates are going to fit inside these square holes that I cut out, like so. There you go. I don't know what kind of angle I just got there, but either way, they're going to fit in there like that. We got one more here that I got to screw on that doesn't have the perimeter yet. I use this same template to cut the holes out as I am to make the flush cut. Basically what I did was I made it to the size that I needed for the cut all the way through, and then I increased it on my table saw, just cutting each side individually to increase the overall to get my countersunk plate set in there. So right now I only have 2 plates, 1 plate, and then a plate with a lift on it. We're going to be upgrading later on down the road once I get some funds to fill this thing up. We do have enough routers to fill it up, so I think what I will do temporarily is find some scrap plexiglass, and we'll actually insert that in there and attach the router on there. That'll be a lot better than having nothing for the time being. Well, here we go. All right, so what I'm using for this setup is a straight cut bit with a collet on my router. I basically just use the collet that is closest to the size of the outside diameter of my straight cut bit, and then went on the inside of here, and if you can see, there is a small rabbet I did around the inside perimeter of this, and that'll make up the difference for that collet. Let's see if I can, I don't want to spin it with my hands, I got this thing plugged in, so you can see the outside of the collet sticks past the outside of the blade diameter, so that little rabbet on the inside, that makes up that difference there. And same jig, so these holes that I have in the top right here are gonna line up perfectly with those screw holes, so there's no guessing or measuring that I gotta do with that. Still running everything on extension cords. We're going to upgrade as we go along. Already got some wires ran to the breaker panel. The breaker panel needs a little bit of upgrading. Just looks like someone did some home style fixes on the thing. So I don't really want to hook up any additional breakers until we fix that situation. So right now we're on extension cords, but not too big of a deal. Flawlessly. Things hopefully should do the same. All right, there we go. Got a little bit more of a rounded corner, but we're gonna live with that, honestly. I just wanted to get them in here. So again, we have one base plate with no lift and one base plate with a lift. I guess I'll probably run that here in this center section. The idea eventually will be to have all 4 matching Craig router lifts in all 4 of these stations. For now, 1 will do until we can start making some money out here and get some more routers in there. All right, so we got this lift here that has the, well, base plate and a lift with the router already in it. This one has nothing in it. Now this has some different screw holes. I can use some actually upside down. This has much smaller screw holes to accommodate. This has some bigger ones. I can use some bigger screws. And I'm kind of making what I have around the shop work. So what I'm using is these screws here, which are think they came with some caster wheels I had. Now, Lowe's is like 45 minutes away. I'm not going that far to just get some screws. So what I'm doing is taking this screw. Now I need a concave on the back end of that screw to match or to fit in there better. So what I'm doing is taking the screw head and I'm taking my grinder, putting this in the drill with the grinder, and I'm grinding myself in that concave on that back end of that screw. At first I originally thought what I was gonna do is just take the diameter off of it with the grinder and then flatten this head to make it fit in there better. But after just doing this, which also kind of naturally takes away the diameter of the head, it fits in there much nicer, and there's a lot more screw. It actually fits in there a lot better too. I think it will make a much more secure, snug fit. So we're gonna go over that process, kind of a little tip and trick, if you will. All right, so basically what I'm gonna do, take the screw, set it into my drill, leave a little bit of some space in there so the grinder wheel will fit in there. I'm using basically just a flat sanding wheel on my battery powered grinder. Let's see if I can get a good angle of this. All right, at the same time I'm spinning this, I'm gonna be running this and kind of taking off that back edge on the screw itself. And there you have it. We got a concave on the back of the screw. Took away a little bit of the diameter of the head. And I guess we'll go test fit this one. All right, so got to lift this thing up a little bit. Do this one-handed. Should have just set up the tripod. It's okay. Let's see. And looks like we need a little bit more, but that's close. You can probably run that now, but you definitely don't want anything hitting or interfering with your pieces as you ride it across the top. So we'll take a little more off of that, but you get the concept of it. Take the screw, put it in the drill, spin it at the same time you're using your little grinder wheel, die grinder, anything will really work. Honestly, even if you have a bench grinder, this same trick will work. And you can kind of make the screws you have work for the purpose you need them to work for without taking a trip to the store. So I'm gonna go ahead and countersink my holes, or not countersink them, but pre-drill them. Now I'm using an 1/8 inch drill bit. Using an 1/8 inch drill bit to pre-drill them. Technically with this size of screw, you might wanna go with something slightly larger, but we have a lot of wood thickness here, so I'm not really too worried about that. Now let's check the fit of all these screws I just made. It fits right below the surface. One last one. Screws did kind of pull it a little bit below the surface on this back corner here, but we can kind of play with that, adjust it using little shims. Shoot, you can even use pieces of paper folded up. Got some washers here, you know, that might make up the difference. Put a washer on that back side. Honestly, I still might do some sanding to this top. I kind of want to put some sort of seal coat on it. It's just some older MDF. Like I said, I'm building this out of scrap wood, what I had laying around the shop. So might put some sort of resin or seal coat on this, so I might take this top down even further. Right now it's kind of a false 1.5 inch top. I only have a lip of 4 inch perimeter around the top that is 1.5 inches. The rest of it is just braced underneath, but most of it is just the 3/4 MDF. But success modifying those screws, avoided ourselves a little store trip. Living out this far from any sort of stores, you definitely got to start doing that kind of stuff even more I've always tried to do that my best, because sometimes we're working on projects late at night where you ain't trying to slow down and spend the even 30 minutes to run to the hardware store. But out here, it's gonna be a 2-hour trip there and back to the hardware store. We got one more here to mount up. Got some smaller screws. I should have something plenty acceptable to put in that hole there. So let's keep going. So like I mentioned, I have some low spots in the router table. So what I went ahead and did was super glued some washers in 3 corners. Those were just my low corners. This corner actually was fine. Not really sure why. It might have just been a little difference when I was routering, but either way, got these washers in place. Now we're just gonna put this thing back, and hopefully once we screw it down, torque it down, it should be just right. This old Craftsman router here that I'm trying to mount to this base plate. So I figured it'd probably be easiest just to pull this off, put this on the base plate and drill from the top side. But I was pulling these pins out here, and I don't think the time lapse caught it, but this spring went shooting all the way across. All right, so I got this plexiglass plate made up, and wouldn't you know, when I was looking for my scrap plexi, I actually found a 3rd base, so I'm not gonna have to make 2, thankfully. We already got these 2 routers mounted up in there. I went ahead and put my porter cable in there because this Craftsman wasn't lining up with the holes that were already in there, and I figured it'd make it a lot easier. Go ahead and use the porter cable in there. I'm gonna put this Craftsman on this plate, and then this other plate that we have over here, we're gonna put one of these Bosches on, one of these 2 plunge Bosch routers. All right, we got all 4 routers in here. We got this plexiglass plate with the Craftsman in it right here. This one's kind of like the least adjustable friendly, I guess you could say. You gotta kind of adjust that set screw or big long screw to adjust it up or down. And I basically just used this straight cut bit and plunged it right through there to get my kind of 0 clearance hole for that. I'm not sure what I'll put in there. I'll probably make the hole bigger at a later date, depending on what I will be going with. Right here, that's just a blank plate in there for now, but we got the porter cable plunge in here. This one's spring released, so you just kind of move that handle and it'll move up and down. And then we got the Bosch in this one here. This is actually the Craig router lift, adjustable lift right here. So this is gonna be the main one I'm gonna be using. And then here we got the other base plates with the Bosch in it as well. These are spring loaded, so these are kind of a little more friendly to adjust freehand. Eventually down the road, I will have dust collection on this, and I will have a box around each one of these with a dust collection hose going to them. But for now, we gotta get some work done. So routers are in, functional. Gonna run plugs and switches, probably just a temporary setup for now, just something to be a little safer. The Craftsman has its own switch. The porter cable has its own switch. But these 2 Bosches, they have no switch on them. They're just straight power once you plug them in. I don't know if it's a Bosch thing or what, but it seems like the switches go out. I have 3 of them, 3 sets of these Bosch routers, and that switch went out, that switch went out. Of the 3, those are my 2 oldest ones. The one I have that has a working switch is the newest, so we'll see if that one goes out down the road. The last thing we're gonna do for the night is get these templates right here. I have a giant cart of wood templates that I stacked from the move. So basically we're gonna take these wood templates, hang them up, and then we're gonna start working on some boxes. templates than I thought I did. So we got basically like window templates, random templates up here. We got some Kicker L7 templates, Steve Mead design ones, some other random ones. This row here is gonna be all 19 to 23. It's labeled 22 Chevy, but it works for the 23 as well. And then here we got our 07 to 18 Chevy inlays, side pieces, back pieces, basically templates for everything. I still got a bunch of stuff over here, and I also got pieces on the other side of the shop as well. So I think what I'm gonna do is stick a bunch of them here on this wall, probably take down this banner. Maybe we'll just move it right above the router. That probably makes sense anyway. So put a whole bunch right here. We got some Chevy door panel templates and also some Chevy extended cab 07 to 13 under seat box templates to hang up. So we'll get those mounted right here, but that definitely looks, well, looks okay. I mean, I wish I had some pegboard, but hey, we're making it work. So we got some nails, had some wood bracing already ran on from the shop. Let's hang it up and get it organized. Well, I figured we'd get one more thing done before we call it a night. Hang the banner up and we will call it good. I want to add some lights here later on down the road, but it's all going to happen in steps as we're going to do this whole process. For the night, we got all these pieces hung up. We got this router table finished up. All these routers mounted in here with the plates. We got this plate made up over here, the plexiglass one. Got them all tested. None of them are plugged in yet. Our switches ran. I'll do that tomorrow. I'll just kind of use a temporary setup for the time being. But that is it. If you guys watched this far, 1728 down in the comments below. You already know what it is if you've watched this far. So thank you so much for watching. Subscribe, like, comment, share on all your social media. I'm out of here. I'll see you on the next one.